Russian President Vladimir Putin has again defended his war against Ukraine as he answered carefully vetted questions at his annual news conference. Speaking at the event that lasted over 4 hours, Putin said Russia's troops are advancing in Ukraine. He also repeated his view that the Kremlin will achieve its goals by force if Kyiv doesn't agree to Russia's conditions in peace talks. He also blamed Ukraine for the failure so far to reach a peace deal.
And now, in fact, they are refusing to end the conflict by peaceful means. Nevertheless, we do see, feel and know of certain signals, including from the Kyiv regime, that they are ready to engage in some kind of dialogue. The only thing I want to say is that we have always said this as well. We are ready and willing to resolve the conflict by peaceful means, on the basis of the principles that I set out in June of last year at the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and provided that the causes that led to this crisis are eliminated. We do not consider ourselves responsible for the loss of life, because it was not us who started this war. This war began after the coup d'etat in Ukraine and the unconstitutional armed takeover in 2014, as well as after the Kyiv regime started fighting against its own citizens in the southeast of Ukraine.
For more, I'm now joined by DW Russia analyst Konstantin Eckert. Konstantin, you've been following Putin's phone-in show. What's your general impression?
Well, I've been following them for most of my professional life, I think. It seems like since time immemorial, Nicole. And compared to previous Putin's appearances, he looks less inspired, more tired, and I would say less capable of producing some kind of sensations, surprises that these press conferences his administration usually prepared in such a way. Nothing new really here. And what also attracted my attention is that he is not even hiding now that this war will continue for as long as he thinks it should continue. And he's selling it not only to the world, but also to the Russian people. So he thinks he's going to be supported with this kind of indefinite war idea. And this, to me, is quite remarkable.
Yeah, just to clarify what you're hinting at here, he said again that the Kremlin's military goals will be achieved in Ukraine unless Ukraine agrees to Russia's conditions for peace. I want to know from you, what does that mean for these ongoing peace talks that we've been following over the past weeks?
Well, briefly saying that they will end in nothing. Nicole, I would like to attract your attention to one specific phrase that actually we used in a clip of Putin, that not only the goals that are presented now during negotiations should be fulfilled, Russian demands, but a very specific key expression for Putin, the root causes of this conflict should be eliminated, which means in Kremlin parlance, essentially a regime change in Kyiv. Mm-hmm. And this is something to which, Ukraine will never agree. And this is what Putin essentially says, that unless Ukraine is under full political control of Moscow, this war will not end. And this basically means that no peace talks are possible in such circumstances.
He also says that Russia has no intention of attacking Europe if Russia and its interests are treated with respect, he said. What does that mean?
Well, it's a threat, and it's a deliberately vague threat to scare the Europeans, to scare NATO allies in Europe, and to also probably influence debates in the EU about the fate of Russian funds that were frozen and that the EU intends to use to help Ukraine. I think Putin is very irritated with that because essentially it will mean that Russia will start paying reparations to Ukraine, unwillingly, obviously. So I think that his hints, traditional, very traditional, it's not new, hints at some unspecified retribution they are an expression of his dissatisfaction with the way things go on and his belief that at least some of the European allies can be scared by this type of rhetoric.
On these frozen assets that the EU has been debating, he said whatever they steal at some point, it will have to be returned. And then he threatened again with severe consequences if they are, in fact, used to help Ukraine. How seriously should these threats be taken, however vague they are?
Well, what I think is quite realistic, Nicole, is that if frozen funds, Russian frozen funds, will be used to help Ukraine, then Russia will confiscate or nationalize, whatever you call it, whatever remains of Western assets in Russia. There are different assessments of how much do they cost. Some say it's a bit more than 100 billion euros, but that's pretty much it. And moreover, I'm certain that the majority of companies that have these their assets frozen now in Russia, they already basically wrote them off. So Putin can do whatever he did. And by the way, he already did it to some Western companies, including, for example, the oil giant ExxonMobil, the American company. So he can do it again. But I do think that the majority of corporate players or former corporate players in Russia already see this risk, or rather even saw it since quite a long time.
This press conference is a very carefully curated and choreographed event, but there have been reports of sarcastic messages flashing up on a big screen behind Putin. Can you tell us more?
Yes, there were some that were really hilarious. For example, when can we go and drink beer instead of listening to your blabber? Another one was, well, at least allegedly, from people that are now in one of the areas where the fighting between the Russian, Ukrainian, and the Ukrainian forces takes place, saying, Putin lies, we are surrounded here, and don't believe him. So you cannot verify whether these messages really come from those people that they claim they come from, but I do think that, first of all, such accidents happened before. Secondly, it proves that no type of firewall, and as you're right, Nicole, these events are choreographed to the minute, but no amount of security precaution can or firewalling can prevent determined people, probably supporters of Ukraine, from breaking through and basically making parts of this 4-hour marathon sound and look quite strange. I would say quite surrealistic.
DW Russian analyst Konstantin Eggert. Thanks so much, Konstantin.
Thank you.